Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Rishi Harinan, and C News is live at noon. Topping the news at this time, the Children's Authority is calling for members of the public to come forward with information to help catch a 35-year-old man who made sexual advances to an 11-year-old girl in a series of WhatsApp messages. Screenshots of the conversation between the man and the child were posted on social media. In the conversation, the man promised the child that he would give her money to buy her a Samsung cell phone and meet with her for sex over the weekend. In one of the screenshots, it appeared that a parent of the girl responded to the man after reading the previous chats and told the sexual predator, or the alleged sexual predator, that a report was going to be filed with the police. In a statement yesterday, the Children's Authority advised parents and guardians to be aware that sexual grooming is a reality and a crime. According to the Children's Act 2012, the person who commits such an offense is liable to a fine of $50,000 and to imprisonment for 10 years, or on conviction on imprisonment to a fine of $100,000 and to imprisonment for 20 years. 31 workers attached to Guardian Media Limited will be getting retrenchment notices today, and the representing Banking, Insurance and General Workers Trade Union says this is not acceptable. As a result, it will be taking the fight to GML and, by extension, its parent company, Ansumacal. Its President General Vincent Cabrera said after failing to justify the retrenchment, the company has gone ahead to issue these letters and put 31 people on the breadline.
Company, its general manager recently announced that for the last period in 2017, the company did make profit. This is a case of an introduction of new technology, and the company is attempting to map that with financial data, which we have questioned.
He said the Severance and Benefit Act does not help workers, as it only outlines a procedure for sending the workers home. Despite this, Mr. Cabrera said the union has requested an order of the court for the commission of an industrial offence by the company. That matter is fixed for December.
And Ansumacal, who are engaging in this kind of retrenchment, are making themselves prime candidates for the boycott. And the trade union movement will in fact be engaging in direct action against the company, because we simply cannot fold our hands and allow more and more workers to be retrenched without taking action, even action on the ground.
GML is the parent company of CNC3, the Guardian newspaper, and several radio stations. For leaders of the trade union federations, that is the Joint Trade Union Movement, the National Trade Union Center, and the Federation of Independent Trade Unions and NGOs, say a decision regarding the National Tripartite Advisory Council will be made on Friday, 18th August 2017, which is tomorrow. This after the bodies met on Tuesday afternoon to discuss what it said was the Prime Minister's unsatisfactory response to the trade union's call for a meeting with him. The three federations noted with concern that the deadline for a positive response to this meeting is Friday. Also to be addressed, the imminent boycott of the 1% and government's procurement of the two vessels, the Cabo Star and the SWWTU. To some other news now. 4 people are now homeless after a fire destroyed their home last night. The owner of the house, Errol Lawrence, said at around 10 o'clock he had returned home and heard noise from the upstairs of the 2-story house. Thinking it was his grandson, he called out to him, following which someone dressed in black was seen in the house. He ran off immediately after. Lawrence said he then saw fire coming from a room in the upstairs of the house. The 4 occupants ran out of the building. No injuries were reported. Fire officers from the San Juan and Tunapuna fire stations responded and extinguished the blaze. The conflict of interest claim against Christian Mute went one step further this morning when political analyst Shane Mohammed spoke on Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago. He claimed the man appointed to look into the circumstances surrounding the procurement of the Cabo Star and the SWWTU vessels is a financier of the PNM. As such, Mr. Mohammed questioned his credibility to investigate the matter.
And I'm saying it is alleged, and alleged in capital letters here, that Mr. Moody is a financier of the PNM. And is it that Mr. Moody, as a financier of the PNM, can participate in an investigation that is going to be free and fair from bias on the part of the government?
He wants to know what really qualifies Mr. Mute to be the sole investigator in this matter and whose interests he will seek.
If Mr. Mute is a financier of the PNM, then we have a conflict of interest here, because then you have the financier of the PNM investigating the campaign manager of the PNM, who is now a minister of government. So what is happening here? Is it by myself, for myself, and doing it in my best interest and not in the interest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago?
This is the C News Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. Well, on Wednesday, the opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar questioned Mr. Mute's suitability for the job, as there may be a conflict of interest. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar said the conflict surrounds the relocation of businesses on the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway in the vicinity of the Kedana Drive-In to facilitate the proposed intersection and flyover. She noted Mr. Mute must say whether his business will be affected. If it is, then he and his business will be in or may have already started a protracted negotiation with the government over compensation for relocation. This means that Mr. Mute will depend on the state for a negotiated outcome in his favor. The opposition leader said this places him in a compromised position. Well, the Seamen and Waterfront Workers Trade Union says there is no need for any investigation into what took place with the procurement of the Cabo Star and the Ocean Flower 2 vessels, as the facts are in the hands of the Port Authority. Its president, Michael Anisette, says all government needs to do is ask. Of the Seamen and Waterfront Workers Trade Union, Michael Anisette, says the current situation came about simply because of the minister's failure to sign the charter party agreement for the Superfast Galicia to stay until the end of October. He said if that was done, it would have given the Port Authority ample time to source a new vessel. Mr. Anisette wants answers as to why the charter party agreement was not signed, why the last board of the Port Authority was sent home and the chairman allowed to resign. He said it was too much to ask of the new board to obtain a vessel in such a short space of time.
The demand for the ferries at this point in time is optimal, and therefore it is an impossibility, and that has been the experience of the port, and the port is aware of that experience, and that has been the experience of the ministry, and the ministry should have been aware of that. And therefore it comes back to the question again, having that knowledge, why did we refuse to sign the extension for the Galaxia?
Mr. Anisette said since the charter party agreement was not signed, measures should have been put in place to ensure people were not inconvenienced.
The responsibility, right, should be placed squarely on the shoulder of who refused to sign the ferry. Because if I refuse to do something, I must have an alternative plan in place. And the question we have to ask ourselves as Trinidadians and Tobagonians, did we have an alternative plan in place when we refused to sign the charter party agreement of the Galaxia? No, we did not have an alternative plan.
He explained the Ministry of Works was charged with signing the charter party agreement on behalf of the government and not the Port Authority. As for the investigation into what took place, Mr. Anisette said this is not needed as all the facts are already there.
We could have whatever inquiry we have. And then it's about 5 inquiries that we have. And then I am saying that all the information in respect to the ferry is there at the hands of the Port Authority. That could be summoned by the Honorable Minister. And that could be summoned by the government. I am saying that there is no need because the facts are there. If people want to be honest, the facts are there.
He said based on the facts he has, this situation was bound to happen. Well, now for the weather. At 11 a.m. today, the Met Office said the area of disturbed weather associated with a low-pressure system was upgraded to a potential tropical cyclone 9. A potential tropical cyclone refers to a disturbance that has not yet developed into a tropical cyclone, but has the potential of bringing tropical storm or hurricane conditions to land within 48 hours. On the forecast track, the disturbance poses no immediate threat to Trinidad and Tobago and should move through the Windward Islands and into the Caribbean Sea on Friday. The TTMS is reminding citizens that we are in the rainy and hurricane season and adequate preparations must be made to preserve life and property against adverse weather conditions. The Met Office underscored that at this time, Trinidad and Tobago is not under any tropical cyclone threat, watch or warning. Well, the government of France has issued a tropical storm warning for Martinique. Barbados has issued a tropical storm warning for Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and St. Lucia has also issued a similar warning. The government of Barbados has issued a tropical storm watch for Dominica. Workers at the Blind Welfare Association protested this morning as they say their health and safety are being compromised due to the unsafe building they are forced to work in. The president of the representing All Trinidad General Workers Trade Union, Nirvan Miraj, says it appears there are other safety issues.
In the Blind Welfare Association in South, we have some serious concerns about the building there. For example, twice the fire alarm went off and the panel in the manager's office was smoking. According to my information, I know that the fire service would have come to the building and an electrician would have come. But after that was done, you had the fire alarm going off again. And so workers are a bit fearful for their safety and security.
Well, the Blind Welfare Association workers involved in the protest have raised other matters as well, which they want to be attended to.
In addition to many other issues there with regard to, for example, one of the bathrooms are down so that the male and female are using the same bathroom. Simple little things like that needs to be fixed. And these people are visually impaired persons, so, we're trying our best to see how we can assist them. We are calling for the fire certificate and we are calling for the fire service to indicate that the building is safe. Our problem is that after the alleged fire certificate was given to the management, you had a problem again where electricians had to come in again to the building.
Well, head of the Blind Welfare Association, Kenneth Surat, said the association is aware of the protest. He said all measures were taken to ensure employees' safety. The Telecommunications Authority has mandated there be no reduction in staff at TSTT and Massey as a result of the change of control of the 3 concessions from Massey to TSTT. This condition is applicable for a period of 1 year, effective July 1st, 2017. TAT said it is empowered to approve a transfer of control upon a concessionaire when granting approval for a change of control. The authority said since receiving the notification from TSTT for change of control of Massey on May 2nd, 2017, a thorough and fair analysis was conducted and the interests of the sector, the applicants and the consumer were taken into consideration in deciding to grant the change of control. To some other news now. Members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service are seeking the public's assistance in locating a 15-year-old girl. Stacia Headley was last seen at her St. John's Trace St. Margaret's home at around 8:30 a.m. on Friday, 11th August. A report was made to the St. Margaret's police station at around 1 p.m. on Wednesday by her mother, Maria Augustine. Stacia is of African descent, 5 feet 6 inches tall, slim-built with a dark brown complexion and short curly hair. She was last seen wearing a moss green dress and a pair of slippers. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of Stacia Headley is asked to contact the police at 999 or any police station or call 800-TIPS. To some football now. The Trinidad and Tobago Football Association has officially begun the transformation of the lands surrounding the Attobolden Stadium into its developmental center. From 6 a.m. on Wednesday, a partnership with Junior Sami saw the land being cleared for the installation of 2 grass football pitches, followed by a player accommodation hotel. TTFA President David John Williams said it is really the start of the project with the commencement of Phase 1, which entails getting the 2 training pitches down to final grade before starting the actual specialist work of planting the grass and laying the surfaces. Along with the 2 training pitches and player accommodation, the first phase will also comprise a beach soccer pitch. The second phase will include 4 additional pitches comprising of both artificial and natural grass surfaces and a futsal court. The Secondary Schools Football League held a coaching clinic over a period of a month and a half, during which over 80 coaches participated. The certification took place in 3 phases: C-Prep, C license, and for the first time in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, the B license.
We see the development of football in Trinidad and Tobago, it is directly hinged to coaches' education, bringing the coaches up to par. When you bring your coaches up to par, of course, they can now in turn bring their players up to par. And this is the direction that we are going. And of course, we have recently had a meeting with the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, and they have seen the benefits of secondary school involvement in the development of football in Trinidad and Tobago. And we are supposed to continue those discussions and hoping that we can build a relationship with the FA that schools can play a major role in the development of our young players.
President Wallace challenged the coaches to rise to the occasion in their various communities and schools and impart the knowledge and techniques they acquired.
I want to wish all the coaches who are here with us today, I hope that they go back to their respective schools and communities and really impart the knowledge that they have gathered here over the last month. And that certification is not about decoration. It's about going out there and imparting, sharing the knowledge that they have acquired.
A birthday is a special day for most, even for an Olympic champion like Hazley Crawford, who celebrated another special day on Wednesday. But unlike most, he did so among some very special friends and well-wishers, all of whom were in high praise for his outstanding contribution.
But I always felt that what I've done, our young people must learn from it. And I'm so happy that, especially today, my 67th birthday, No. I always felt that not much was done. Our young people did not learn or really benefit from my gold medal. But thanks to Mr. Tate and Yui and Analyst for this display. And I'm hoping it goes around the country, our young people learn something that really well to learn. They must not go through what I've been through, because I see myself as a worker. I clear the way for the young ones coming. Keyshawn Walcott and Mr. Richards won gold medals. Yes, it's a world championship and one is the Olympics, but I feel that is also part of the entry's development. I was a part of that at one time. But I see a bright future. And I feel when they go through the country and it inspires 1 or 2 or 3 people, we'll get a lot more gold medals in Trinidad and Tobago.
He was addressing a small gathering in the library of the University of the West Indies, where an exhibition into his life as an athlete and in the workplace is mounted for all to see, forming the perfect backdrop for him to be serenaded and applauded for living an exemplary life.
Hazley is a humble man. He's a decent man. His life has been his example. He was the first to produce a gold medal back in the 1970s in Trinidad and Tobago, and to inspire and to ignite the imagination, the ambition and the will of a generation. And Hazley, today we say thank you for that wonderful achievement.
What better way to spend a birthday than with fans and well-wishers who recognize and appreciate what you have achieved. And the new campus principal at UWI, Professor Brian Copeland, was among them.
I've made the point time and again that we tend to forget our heroes all too easily in this country, and it's something we're about to correct. And in that vein, on behalf of all of us at UWI, and I'm sure on behalf of NBC as well, I'm proud to present you with this little memo that shows exactly what Hazley is all about, right? Which is giving inspiration to the children.
There is always something special to be said about the first, and Coffee falls into that category. And here's wishing him all the best on his special day, and may he see many, many more.
Well, that's it for sport. Well, that brings us to the end of the C News Report. I'm Rishi Harinanan. Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, visit the C News website at ctvtt.com. Have a good afternoon.